Good evening, everyone. I call this meeting of the Sedro-Woolley City Council to order. Please rise and join me for the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And justice for all.
Okay, welcome everybody. Tonight is a first try for our new procedures that were adopted by the City Council. Kind of want to talk about that. I'm hoping not to screw it up this evening. So our procedures previous to this had not been updated since 1994 and had, as to the best of my knowledge, never been followed, at least not while I was on council or as the mayor. We changed the procedures to allow more public comment because there was a gap there on items that were on the agenda, and it had been there for a long time. So you will get a chance not only for your 3 minutes of general public comment, but also if you have a first reading item that's on the agenda, you may speak about that as well. So if it's on the agenda and it's a first reading, don't talk during general public comment time on that. Wait until then. So things will look a little different tonight. We're going to start with a roll call. Cheryl?
Councilmember Judith Dunley.
Here.
Councilmember Janine Cornegay.
Here.
Councilmember Brandon Kinzer.
Here.
Councilmember Julia Johnson.
Julia Johnson is on travel outside the country.
Councilmember Chuck Owens.
Here.
Councilmember Rick Lemley.
Councilmember Lemley was called away to work and will not be with us tonight.
And Councilmember Brett Sandstrom.
Present. Okay. I would entertain a motion to excuse our absences.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to excuse the absence of 2 council members tonight.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilmember Kinzer and seconded by Councilmember Cornegay to excuse the absences. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And it's approved. On to the consent agenda. We have items 1 through 5.
I'd like to move to approve agenda items A through E, A through O.
1 through 5.
1 through 5. It's
1 through 5.
numerical.
Oh, there we go. Okay, that does look different. Okay, so
It is different. We'll get through it.
I'd like to move that we approve of agenda items 1 through 5.
I'll second.
I think Chuck beat you, and since it's his birthday, I'm going to give Chuck the second.
Oh,
So
you can do that.
motion was made by Councilmember Cornegay and seconded by Councilmember Owen. Happy birthday. To approve the consent agenda items 1 through 5. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. And it carries. So we have no special guests. This is also a change. We're going to start with the staff reports because a lot of people had to leave before they heard staff reports and what we had to say. So I thought that it is better to lead that with that. So Chief Tucker, you're up.
All right, just to give you an update, we made a conditional job offer to Derek Lowe. He's a lateral officer from North Carolina that's, moved here locally. His wife transferred here in the Navy. She's stationed at NES Whidbey. So we're looking at getting him into a November equivalency academy, or January equivalency academy, but hiring him earlier to do some records and evidence purging that we haven't been able to do due to lack of manpower. So we're getting him on board real quick as long as everything works out. We had a retirement for Officer Rhonda Lasley last week. I think that went really well. She's taken a medical retirement, and for those that stop by, she has a lot of people in the community that think real highly of her. So we saw her off in style, and then I sent my crime watchers out on a mission this last week. All of these garage sale signs that are posted all over the city that are up for a month at a time, they've really not been addressed, and our crime watchers thought that would be fun to drive around and just pick up signs. So I'm also going to put something out on Facebook about we do have a garage sale ordinance, and we're not going to start enforcing garage sales and checking for permits and all that, but that is required by the code. But we are going to start with taking down your signs when you're done and getting them cleaned up, because it's kind of leaving a mess everywhere, and they're not supposed to be posted on telephone poles and city right-of-way stuff. We're going to be reasonable, but we're also going to start educating people first and trying to clean things up. And that's all I have.
Okay, well, I think that's might be a steep training curve, but we got to start somewhere. Any comments from council? Go ahead, Chief.
This is the start of Frank Wagner, our new assistant chief's second week, and he's doing a great job, and he's excited to be here. You'll see on your desk you've got a kind of a monthly data, and you'll get this now within your packet. This will be the only time that we'll just put it on the desk for you, so it'll be in the online stuff. But this part of his job is to track these numbers in the calls and the transports and so forth, so we'll get a better picture of what the guys are doing out there in the field. Also, just so you know, back in 2000 and I think it was 14, the city was rated by the Washington Survey and Rating Bureau. At that time, we were classified as a Class 5 city for fire insurance ratings. It was probably 14 years prior to that to when we were last rated before. So when we got this letter this week, we were kind of surprising that we're going to be re-rated again. So just three and a half years since our last rating, they're going to come in and rate the city again. So September 4th of next year is our date that they'll come in. It took almost 4 months to get go through the process last time. The gentleman that's going to be doing the rating assures us it'll be done in a day. He's learned. His comment was, "I've learned how to do my job. I'll be in and out of there in one day." So we're excited to see that happen. It was quite an extensive rating period last year. You know, a 4-month little show that it should last just a day this time. So hopefully we'll improve our rating and not stay the same, but we'll keep you apprised of what's going on with that. A lot of that is actually PUD and dispatch is the majority of what it is, what they take a look at. We have some say in it, but not a lot. It's just depending on PUD's maintenance and how they track their equipment and so forth. As we get into it, as we get copies of stuff from them, prepping for it, I'll make sure you guys get a copy of it too so you can see what it is. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Chief. John?
We've been working with the property owner and our consultant on working on the Phase 1 environmental assessment at the former Sedro-Woolley lumber property. Our consultant, Mel Foster-Longy, is working on the Phase 1. That will be done at the end of October. We're still waiting to hear from Ecology whether or not their money will be available for a Phase 2 grant to be performed. So we're just, like I mentioned at the last council meeting, we're just going to go forward with the Phase 1 and hope for the best with the Phase 2. Related to that, the council had asked the Planning Commission to look at the zoning of that property and confirm whether or not it's, appropriately zoned. Right now it's zoned industrial. So the Planning Commission in August it was an agenda item in the Planning Commission, and they kind of reviewed the background of it, of the property and the zoning. And then in last month, so that would be September, or earlier this month, I should say, the Planning Commission held a public hearing. We posted notice at a couple places on the site, on our website, in the newspaper, and we were looking for comments from the public about what they feel might be appropriate zoning or have good ideas for the property in the long run as the Planning Commission reviews what might be the best use for it. No recommendations are being made. We're just collecting comments at this point. The property owner was there. They're interested in hearing what people want to see done with the property. They don't really have any plans for it right now. The Planning Commission wanted to hold off on making any further recommendations until we receive that Phase 1 report and they have a better understanding of what some of the environmental liabilities of the property might be, if there's any. We know that there's the old log pond that's been filled in with hog fuel, which is basically wood chips. So that gives some soil stability problems, so there's like an area that won't be easy to build on. But aside from that, there's not any known bad stuff on there. But we'll find out for sure. It was part of the Phase 1 report. And then the Planning Commission wanted to hold another public hearing on that. And that would be probably in November or December. So keep an eye out for that if you're interested. And then they'll hopefully make a recommendation before the end of the year. I'm not really sure how many hearings they want to hold and what the Planning Commission is thinking about that. But that's the progress on that report. The Swift Center, we've received a binding site plan application from the port. They're looking at creating some different parcels out at the Swift Center to identify where future development is going to be. It's all based on the planned action ordinance and the sub-area plan, so it's just sort of a procedural creating the parcels that were talked about in the sub-area plan. And then as far as the building department, it's been, as you can see, lots of construction going on. We've got about 25 single-family houses under construction, and that's under construction. That's not including the ones that have been finalized already this year and previous year, as well as 60 multifamily units under construction at the moment, with another 28 getting ready to start. They're doing the dirt work out in those 28 right now on Cook Road. So that's 88 units of multifamily. That's more than we've seen in decades in Sedro-Woolley. So plenty going on. That's all I got.
For John?
I have a question. The units that they're building right on Highway 9, just off of Township North,
Yes.
that's part of the same development that was there already? But these are 3 stories, it
Right.
looks like? And they're kind of blocking the ones in front of them, but there were 3 stories, but they're still within.
So that was designed as, when it was laid out as either fourplexes or duplexes in that back area, and then one large parcel up front left for either an apartment or some commercial development. Nobody ever went through the trouble of changing it to commercial zoning, so they just stuck with the residential 15 zoning, and were able to put that apartment unit on there. So it was different than it was a different kind of lot than the rest of them, and we did make sure that it had extra far setbacks from those other units behind it, so they didn't shade it out too bad.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Mark?
Yes, a few things for you. The Cascade Trail project, the sidewalk on the north side of Highway 20 from Hodgen to SR9 is essentially complete and has been accepted by DOT. There are a few signs that were just late getting in that will be installed later, but the project other than that is done. The DOT's overlay project is also essentially complete. They've just about finished all the pavement markings. There's been comments that have come in about the inlays that were, or the areas of the center turn lanes that have not been paved. They look terrible, and I totally agree with that. It was totally outside of our control, however, on what DOT chose to do there, but I do plan to comment on it to the regional administrator when I meet with him next week.
So at SCOG, they assured me they were going to come in and coat those to match, so I don't know
Well,
if everybody's talking to the same story, but
yeah, they've already striped it, so I assume they chose not to do that. Yeah. We have one more major project yet to do this year. It's a liner project on a number of sewer mains in town. We're waiting on a schedule from the contractor. We expect it to be done before the end of the year. Shouldn't be any major disruptions. One of the lines does go under one of the school facilities, and they've committed to doing that on the weekend to avoid any disruption to the school operations. One other long-time project, something we've been working on with the owners for some years, is on Heather Lane. That's a very old subdivision that was a substandard subdivision. It did not have adequate drainage, and it has, as a result, had ponding along the curbs in the cul-de-sac area for years. They've gradually gotten worse. I've heard complaints from the owners ever since we've gotten here. We did engage one of our on-call contractors to add some drainage in there. This is going to help. It's not going to completely solve it, but it will help. We also have a contract that you approved award of tonight to do a slurry seal on top of the chip seal that was done last year. Unfortunately, the chip seal was done with a new oil the county was trying out, and it failed. So the chip seal, instead of being what you normally would see, that looks like a rough asphalt, actually is raveling. The gravel is loose. A slurry seal will seal that and basically make it look like an asphalt pavement. We've done that successfully on other ones in the past. However, we're just about to run out of weather. We do have the work scheduled for next week, but we understand weather's coming in. That's an extremely weather-sensitive process. It may well be we'll have to wait until the spring to do that, but we're going to try to do it if we can yet this year. Hauser Park, we've been able to add some additional fencing that we are out to bid on now along the north edges of that. That will go in yet this year. And we have one more project in the design phase. It's to line a number of manholes around town. This is one of our annual sewer projects, about $100,000 estimate. We expect to get that bid and built before the end of the year as well. Another thing, just because you may hear about it, Hillsview, which is the assisted living complex located at State Street and Township at the northwest corner, has some heaving sidewalks that have been the subject of some trips and falls recently, and the city put the owner of the site on notice that they needed to repair their sidewalks, and they have committed to do that. In the midst of, or in doing that, there are quite a number of large fir trees that were actually improperly sited so close to the sidewalk as they are. That's what's heaved the sidewalks up. We have arranged with PSE and Asplund, who does their tree maintenance work, to remove the ones that are so close to the sidewalk that once they repair it, they would be back to heaved within a year or two because of the root proximity. You may hear about that because they're large trees, and some people are very sensitive about that, but they shouldn't be where they're at, and they are going to come out. That work's going to start on Friday by Asplund, and then the sidewalks themselves sometime in the next 30 to 60 days. Should solve that problem. We have other sidewalks like that around town. We'll be handling them much the same way. If we get a complaint, then we'll send a notice to the owner to fix it. That's what our city ordinance, and that's what state law in general requires, is adjacent property owners are responsible for maintenance of sidewalks. Many are not aware of that, but we do have that information listed in our own standards and on our website. And we also make available to folks, as you probably know, Councilmember Dunley is, Johnson, yes, thank you, Patsy, has taken advantage of that to replace the sidewalks in front of her house, and others do that every year. And so if you do have the opportunity to share that with others, that's a good program. We'll take the sidewalks out for them and grade it, and then they just need to hire a contractor to provide the gravel and the concrete to replace those. We also have in the design phase for next year's projects our sidewalk and ADA ramp upgrade project, kind of related to what I was just talking about. We're going to be fixing the pedestrian ramps at a number of locations that are substandard. We only have about 370,000 available for that, but we'll do as many as we can, as well as fixing the sidewalks on Murdoch Street in the vicinity of State Street to Ferry Street, which are also broken up in that area. We're also partnering with the school district to do some on 3rd Street. We're going to complete the rest of the sidewalks on the west side there, and then the school district, it sounds like they're going to commit to fixing the ramps around the high school itself, bring that up to standards. Well, here on the TIP grants that we have applications in on November the 17th, and again, we're looking to receive the rest of the funding for the Fruitdale project, a paver on State Street, and then the rest of the funding for the partially funded SR20 Township to Fruitdale sidewalk. That's everything I had, Mayor.
Mark, we received a letter about kind of the paving that went on 20 and the sidewalks that would probably continue the Cascade Trail. And that's eventually supposed to go to Collins, right? So people can go to Collins and then take Lafayette?
That's correct.
Do you know what a timeline or schedule is for that?
Well, we have received funding through the SCOG federal funds that they distribute for the next phase of that, which we're calling 2A, and that's going to run from Hodgen to Holtcamp Road. So that one's actually funded. And,
is Holtcamp where the antique store is?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. Yes, that's correct. And that project's actually funded, but we don't get the money. The money's not available until 2022, so it's a few years out, but that time passes pretty quickly.
Okay.
That one has a couple of technical challenges. We have to cross the creek, and we have to run in front of the homes that are there on Pebble Lane. But we think we have enough room at the top of the bank to do that, but that's one we'll start designing in a year or two. The final phase from Holtcamp to Collins Road, we may have to break that into a couple of phases too. It's still quite a ways, but we'll start looking for funding on that for the next round.
Okay.
And once it gets to Collins, there's a signal at Collins that allows people to cross safely to the other side of Highway 20, and the designated bike route from that point back to Burlington is actually along Lafayette, which works pretty well, actually, and that will get you down to District Line Road where the Burlington path currently ends. So we see that as probably the way that's going to get built. Burlington and the county have, Burlington for sure, and I think the county has in their tips to continue that path along the north side, but there are right-of-way challenges. There's a slough to cross and some other issues that will probably mean that's going to take a long time to accomplish.
And second, we received another letter from a homeowner on Garden of Eden about a ditch or a culvert, something over there, and wanted to know, is that something that the city's responsible for? What is the situation that's happening over there?
Well, I think, Dorothy, are you talking about the Brickyard Creek itself there, the really deep?
I'm talking about, do you want me to read this now?
We'll wait till the public comment period. And do you have a copy of it, Mark?
I do have a copy of it.
So you can go back and research and get her an answer. Sure. Anyway.
Yeah, that might be best.
Anything else, Brett?
I had a question.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The ramps, the ADA ramps, how are you, I'm not sure what needs to be repaired except for the yellow part is always breaking off. Is that what needs to be repaired? Is that what you guys are fixing on those?
Well, mostly we're dealing with ones that just do not meet the DOT standards. There are many ramps around town that either don't exist, it's still barrier curbs, or they're old style that do not have they call those detectable warning strips, the yellow generally. They actually can be a number of colors. We've generally chosen yellow. There are some places like the sidewalk that runs down Metcalf from City Hall to downtown has a few places where they put a glue down strip in. They're probably over 10 years old. That was the way they did them for a while. Those have a tendency to break up due to the sunlight degrading the plastic.
We're not using those anymore then.
We don't use that particular style anymore. We do have a glue down, but they're made that are UV stabilized that don't fail quite as quickly. But
Okay.
it's a maintenance item we have to look at.
Thank you.
So you're welcome.
Okay, Patsy?
Well, the 2018 budget process is fully underway, and staff have given some great proposals, some wonderful ideas, which will be further refined and then brought to you, perhaps, in the mayor's balanced budget. Team Bellingham has submitted a list of items they want on the first day of the audit, which will be either October 6th or October 9th. They have a couple new items they've not included before, but so I figure that's might be what they're going to look at this year. They tend to have a statewide focus. They don't necessarily pick on us as much as this is what we're going to look at statewide. And then Amanda, our seasonal staff person, has been working on cemetery records. Some of you may not know the cemetery used to be two separate cemeteries with separate record keeping, and they weren't ever actually fully integrated or records reconciled to make sure that everything was completely accurate. So she's been going through those, as well as some resources Christine had located, like there's a book of old funeral home records, and just trying to tie everything together to make sure when people come looking for great grandma or grandpa, we can help them find them, and there's the family history as much as we have. So that's what's happening in finance.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Patsy?
How do you, since the process is already underway, for council to give any input or suggestions for consideration, how do we make that known? Just email you or?
Come on in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or email or?
The council also previously gave input through their goals and objectives.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Judith.
I don't really have anything.
Very good. Jermaine?
Nothing got on me. I just had, yesterday I attended a community action candidate forum on homelessness. I was a little unprepared, but it was very well attended, and there was a lot of interest in that. And actually, it went on live feed, and it's on their website. There were some great suggestions and feedback from lots of different candidates from all over the county, and so it's on their website, and it's like we're all looking for answers. So I would suggest checking that out and giving feedback on that. Also, Community Action is doing their Spirit of Hope breakfast on October 12th. It's free to attend, and they talk about homelessness there as well. They do ask for a donation. It's October 12th from 7 o'clock in the morning until 8 in the morning, and then they do a program from 8 to 9. They have the speaker, Mayor Ray Stevenson from the city of Everett, who's done a lot of things as far as homelessness, and he's done some really great things in Everett, so they have him as their keynote speaker. And of course, everything is on their website. So, thank you.
Thanks, Jermaine. Brenda?
I don't have anything tonight.
Chuck?
Yeah, I have a question for Mark. On Ball Street, just south of the apartments, there's a lot there that's all grown up in briars, and they're coming out on the road. I went down once with my lawnmower and cut them off, but it's an awful nasty looking thing, and I was wondering maybe if you could have the mower come up and at least cut back to the city right away, or get a hold of the property owner and have him do something about it.
Yeah, we can address the property itself through code enforcement. We can look at that, and I'll check on the other part for the
Okay,
right-of-way.
thank you.
So that's roughly what block are we looking at there?
Hey, Mark, can you speak into the mic a little more closely, please?
Roughly what block are you talking about where that...
The lot? Yeah, it's a lot just south of the apartments on the, it would be on the west side of Ball.
Okay, we'll take a look at that.
You can't miss it.
Okay.
Anything else, Chuck? Brett?
No.
Really? Okay. So down to me. A couple neat things going on. We've spent 5 years getting permission to dredge out a man-made pond that's the children's fishing pond up to Swift Center, and finally have gotten approval from all the authorities, from ecology, Fish and Wildlife, Army Corps of Engineers, and we started dredging that pond out this past weekend. We have a 5-year permit, so 5 years to do the work. It's going to improve safety and access for our kids who do the annual fishing derby. And hats off to the Skagit Steelhead Club for really spearheading that and bringing us all together and getting through it. I attended the Brewfest this weekend. That earned money for Helping Hands Food Bank. It was wildly popular. I think they sold 500 tickets. I've heard that they made $12,000 in profit, so I don't know what the gross was, but $12,000 in profit, and that's a lot of food for our community. So I expect to see that occur again next year. We might have to expand the ropes or something because there was an awful lot of people there. Boot the Burn, the fundraiser for Camp Phoenix for burned children. That's on the 7th of October at 6 o'clock. It's a very worthy and fun event, and you learn a lot too. So I'm going to be there. It's at our community center, if I didn't say that. And it's a unique history. Camp Phoenix started way back when, and Sedro-Woolley was the first fire folks to partner with them when they were reaching out across the state. So it's kind of neat that Sedro-Woolley was in at the beginning. And that will take us to proclamations. I already did your birthday, Chuck, so we're past that, to public comment. So public comment, the rules are pretty much the same. I would remind people that it's always been a rule that there's no applause, no hoorays, no boos, and cat calls from the audience. I think we've gotten a little sloppy on that over time, but since we're starting our new procedure and starting fresh, I thought I would remind everybody of that. So whoever would like to come up for public comment period, please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes, give or take. And remember to keep your comments to the council. Dorothy.
Brett already brought this up, that I had some concerns. I'm Dorothy DeFremery, 316 Garden of Eden Road. And this is a public safety concern. At the corner of FNS and Garden of Eden Road, right where they intersect, there's about a 5-foot deep ditch that runs along FNS, and then it hits a, for lack of a better word, a big drainage pipe, and there's nothing as a way of guard to prevent anything from going into that pipe. Mm-hmm. So in the winter, when the rains come, that ditch is about 5 feet full of fast-running water. And the shoulder right adjacent that ditch, I'm sure is less than a foot. So often I see kids on bicycles, young kids, running right along, and if they fell in that ditch, and that, that goes underneath FNS and out the other side, if there's nothing to keep a branch or something, they get caught under there.
Oh, yeah.
It should be fenced anyway, but what's ironic is right prior to that on FNS, there are 2 large drainage ponds with the proper sloping and the proper fencing, which I think the city already maintains. So this one spot is of real concern. I think it's likely to be expensive, but it's, a lawsuit over a preventable loss of life is not going to be cheap either. And I noticed this has been done at the roundabout on Highway 9, where the big pipe is. There's sort of a guard to prevent things from going through. And let's see if I had anything else.
About 30 seconds.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dorothy. So I think
I gave you guys
Mark
copies.
will get back. If you could leave a contact number, that would make it easier to get back with you on what we learned.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Dorothy. Anyone else for public comment tonight? Mary.
Good evening. My name is Mary Anderson, and I reside at 928 Beachley Road in Sedro-Woolley. Since my campaign ran on being a voice for the people, I have some additional issues left over from that campaign that Sedro-Woolley citizens expressed concern and even outrage over. One woman who claims she distrusted all politicians admitted to me that she's angry over the taxes citizens are paying to Sedro-Woolley, and she wants to see more businesses in Sedro-Woolley to take some of the tax burden off of her. Several other citizens expressed their resentment over the $20 fee attached to car registration in Sedro-Woolley. Unfortunately, someone wasn't thinking when they put the acronym TBD on that tacked-on fee, which leads most of your citizens to conclude that it's to be determined instead of the transportation budget, whatever it is. So most citizens think that the city is building a slush fund, and they are pretty upset about it. However, I suspect Tim Iman's initiative in the November election will take care of that. Many people express disappointment that many pointless roundabouts are being installed when so many city streets still need attention. And I'm very grateful tonight to hear, John, that the sidewalks are being addressed because people are still quite angry over the sidewalk issue. Another issue that was raised to me is the public restrooms around town. They are often closed despite caretakers. I don't know, I thought we installed caretakers so that the bathrooms would be open, and they are not. And when the library is closed, people have nowhere to go. And if they're riding bikes around the town, this can create a problem. I did hear many complaints from people that the downtown of Sedro-Woolley is dying, while Highway 20 becomes a strip mall. Seniors are concerned that they can no longer walk to services in downtown because so many have disappeared. Hardware stores, pharmacies, banks. Parking is still a big concern for people when they drive to downtown. And I remember hearing that the parking lot next to Wells Fargo, a big concern for them, was going to be repaired and repaved. Will that happen before any more roundabouts are put in, I wonder? A couple of final considerations. People are very concerned that they will be taxed out of their long-term homes. They are worried that the small-town feel they've cherished in Sedro-Woolley will disappear as grandiose plans are implemented. And they fear that no one at City Hall listens to the little guy anymore. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mary. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Good evening. Matt Morning, 722 Cascade Court, Sedro-Woolley. I just here to give over the state to the council for the ordinance that passed effective June 1st. No parking to the south and east side of Hudson Street. I go to work to work on that road, and before that ordinance passed, there were cars parked on both sides, cars driving both sides, and me trying to get through, in my opinion, was very dangerous. And I just want to thank the council for making no parking on the south and east side. I feel much safer now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Anyone else for the public comment period? All right. Oh, Phil's got in just under the hammer there. You're good.
You're quick. My name's Philip Murray. I live at 223 State Street. And I just want to say thank you for putting up the 3-hour parking signs on State Street. We'll see if it helps. Enforcing is important. And then on Rita Street and State Street, there was a bush. You couldn't see through it. You couldn't see cars coming if you were going to take a left. And they talked to the owners, and they trimmed it up, and thank you for that, too, because now you can, it's a lot safer. And the city is paving the parking lot behind Wells Fargo, which is good. And that's going to be the thing with the parking signs. They'll be parking over there, hopefully. I do have a concern that there's a pole behind the laundromat that must be leaning over about 4 to 6 feet at an angle like this. And as soon as they pave, they'll come in and they'll pull that pole and put a new one in and tear your new pavement up. And I believe the city attorney has the right to tell the telephone company to move that pole. Because I noticed, like on State's 3rd Street, there's a telephone pole, and you actually curved the road around it. And you did that on Rita Street, the new street there, Rita. You went around a telephone pole, which you could have said, move these poles. It doesn't make sense. You move a whole road instead of a pole. Let's see, what else? I was looking up codes for the sidewalks and ramps and stuff down there at the library, the law library in Mount Vernon. Well, your code books there are from 2011. You haven't been updating anything there, and it's like I could be talking about something that doesn't even exist anymore. And one other thing was your first reading thing, that's coming next, is that right?
That's right.
Okay, so I can't talk about that right now. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. So I would tell you, I've already got complaints about the 3-hour parking sign from other people, so you can never make everybody happy, but thanks for your appreciation on that. Okay, one more, Carl.
Carl DeYoung. I'm a resident at 1030 Warner Street. Thank you, Council, Mayor, and department heads. I wanted to alert Public Works to 2 things I've heard in the neighborhood about a storm drain that's clogged on Railroad by Felton Auto on the southwest corner, Felton Auto on Railroad. And then on State and Willard, folks are calling it Lake Willard. So I thought I'd bring that to your attention. Also, last week was fantastic here at the City Council area when we talked about the library. It was nice to see so many families come and give their input, and it was well facilitated. I really enjoyed the 3D printer demonstration, so thank you for having that available to the community. And finally, or secondly, I see with the Skagit Fisheries Enhancement Group, we're talking about extending out from the Bark Park there. I think that was on your consent agenda that you just passed. So I was looking at that, and that's wonderful that we're getting rid of the invasive non-native species of weeds and Himalayan blackberries out there, and putting in some great canopy in different stages. So it's great to see that the tree canopy is being expanded in Sedro-Woolley, and that might help off-put maybe losing a tree or two on State and Township. And I look forward to seeing the picnic area there. That looks wonderful. Finally, on the Heather Lane Slurry Seal Project, Blackline Incorporated, I was looking in the packet that Is that a local contractor, or is that from Vancouver, Washington? Did I see that right?
Not a question and answer period.
I'm sorry. Well, thank you. My concern would be we couldn't find someone within, a 200-mile radius, or even create some local jobs out of that. So thank you for listening. Thank you for your hard work.
Thank you, Carl. So if that's a quick 30-second answer.
Oh, sure.
Go ahead.
So we solicited statewide for that, and we actually approached 7 contractors.
You're not talking in your mic.
Oh, sorry.
You can't be heard.
I must have a bad mic. We solicited statewide for that slurry seal project, and we approached 7 local contractors. They all declined to bid and referred us to Blackline. They're kind of the specialty contractor that does that for the state.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, I'll close the public comment period at this time, and we will move on to new business. Item M, number 1, which is page 42 to 44 of your packet, and it's first reading. So I'm going to go there. So what this is we missed a thing in our ordinance when we reduced the parking time from 240-hour maximum on rights-of-way to 72 hours to give our code enforcement officer some more tools to work with. We missed it in one spot, so this proposes to repeal Municipal Code 44.179 because there's a conflict. Basically, one says 240 hours and one says 72 hours. So we need to go back and clean that up. There's no action on that tonight. It's a first reading. Council have any comments or concerns about that?
No, just do it.
Well, we want to keep with our 3-touch rule now. If council doesn't have anything, does staff have anything on this, Chief?
It's pretty clear.
Okay. In that case, I will open it to public comment for 3 minutes for anybody who wants to comment on this item. It's first read, and this is your chance to comment. Same rules. Come on up.
Philip Murray. I live at 223 State Street, Sedro-Woolley. This parking rule on right-of-ways, is that going to be enforced city-wide? Because I think it's going to open up a can of worms. The Ferry Street, if I'm not mistaken, is 80 feet wide, and Rita Street, it comes up to Ferry Street, is 80 feet wide, and there's a car dealership that has cars parked all over the city right-of-way, and that's going to open up a can of worms there. They park where there should be sidewalks. That's about all I have to say.
Okay, thank you, Phil. Anybody else have a comment? Okay, in that case, I'll close the public comment period for this item of new business. Last chance, council, if you want to talk about it, or otherwise it'll be back on the next agenda. Informational items are in your packet. I would say, since this is sort of late, that Community Action came and talked to me about a new facility they're hoping to fund. There's a letter in front of all of you. They're asking for funding. It's a pretty big number. I'll just let you look at that. What's really important, actually, is what they do for the community learning experience, and they will probably come and present to the council in the next month or so. Anything for the good of the order? This is your last chance, council, to wing one out there. Otherwise, we will adjourn to executive session for about 15 minutes with possible action under RCW 42.30.110 subparagraph 1B, lease or purchase of real estate if there's a likelihood that the disclosure will increase the price. So at 7:49, we'll go into executive for about 15 minutes.
That would be good, because you're back.
Okay, we're back from executive at 7:58. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize you to sign a purchase and sale agreement.
Okay, motion was made by Councilmember Sandstrom, seconded by Councilmember Owen, authorizing the mayor to sign the attached purchase and sale agreement. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The motion carries. Without objection, we stand adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.